Another older woman who had to climb like 15 stairs to get inside. She didn't have a mask, and she said, well, I have COPD, and she was visibly, trying to breathe, and the manager just went like ballistic and was like, oh, I see how this is gonna go.
Well, folks, I'm with Jerry Hinomatter. She is from Hanover. She is a member of the Ontario Alliance Party. And Jerry, you told me an incredible story off camera, and I think it's worth sharing. You and some other party members of the Ontario Alliance, you booked a meeting at the Hanover Legion. You went there to have your meeting, and then what happened?
Well, they basically kicked us out, but not before they called the police and made, a big deal out of it. We would have taken our meeting outside. It was a beautiful day. We were not there to protest or anything. We were there because we were setting up the Grey Bruce riding, and we were doing some business with that. And we were also inviting the public to come and speak with us and talk about what we stand for, and also where we are, where we stand on the lockdowns and the masks and things like that. But it was just a meeting.
But the big question, of course, is why? What was the ostensible policy reason why they kicked you and your friends out?
Well, first she didn't want to let us in. And we said, well, we are a political party and we have the right to assemble. And your president saw fit to, book this with us. So if you want to, check us out online. So she said she was going to check us out online, that we were a registered political party. And then, so 10 minutes later, she let us in. But then we had, people with no masks. So one guy was he's a veteran, has PTSD, definitely exempt. Another woman, had a tracheotomy. Obviously, another older woman who had to climb like 15 stairs to get inside. She didn't have a mask, and she said, well, I have COPD, and she was visibly, trying to breathe, and the manager just went like ballistic and was like, oh, I see how this is gonna go. Well, this is gonna be the president's problem, not mine. And so that was...
These were legitimate medical exemptions. The manager, is this the lady you mentioned, Norma, I believe her name is. She didn't like that. I find a degree of perverse irony here, Jerry, in the fact that you said one of the people was a veteran who is suffering from PTSD, does not want to wear the mask. So it's kind of amazing, isn't it? Here's an individual that served this country to protect our rights and freedoms, including the right for freedom of assembly, and yet he's given the bum's rush out of a legion?
Right, and think about who built the Legion. Hundreds of thousands of people who fought for our rights and our freedoms built the Legion. And the Legion is kicking us out because we want to talk about our rights and freedoms.
And what ended up happening? Did the group get kicked out of the building then?
Well, we left of our own accord, but the police were called.
And why were the police called? This is baffling.
We don't really know, because Joshua Erickson, who is our interim party leader, he told Norma, we can leave, we can take it out to the parking lot, and we can meet out there. And the next thing we know, there are police officers there.
Are you saying she didn't even want the meeting outdoors in the parking lot even?
Well, maybe that's when she thought, now that it's going to be a protest, right? It was never going to be a protest.
Well, you have the right to protest as far as I'm concerned.
It was never, that was never our intention, okay, right? That was never our intention to protest.
Well, Jerry, thank you for telling me this story. I did reach out to Norma a couple of times at the Legion. My calls were not returned, so we'd love to hear her side of the story, but if they won't give it to us, they won't give it to us. But I am absolutely gobsmacked by this, Jerry.
Yeah, and then so what we did was we went to the town square, and we, had our little meeting there in the outdoors, and the police were actually like circling us. I don't know if they were counting to see how many of us there were, or just what the big deal was. But they didn't come and bother us or anything, but they were circling to, like, I guess, make sure that we were peaceful. I don't know.
Can you believe it, folks? We're living in a country that we now have the masked police making sure that everybody is in compliance with their masks. Absolutely stunning. Jerry, keep fighting for freedom. I don't know that much about the Ontario Alliance Party, but it seems that you stand up for the rights and the freedoms of people, that thanks to veterans like the fellow who got...
Ontario. All of Ontario, yeah.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing that story. I guess the only other thing I have to say is, are you going to go back to the Legion and assert your right to meet there?
No, I doubt it.
You're done with them.
Yeah, and it's really too bad. You know, I really think that the Legions are having a hard time. I have seen stories where if they didn't own their buildings, they'd be out of business. You know, and then they just turn us away. And we're just another group of people, and we actually had rented there before during the last election. We had rented there and met there, you know. Of course, there wasn't the same, restrictions and that kind of thing. But the Legion, you know, seemed always to be a stable part of the community. And it doesn't seem now like it's community-based at all.
How sad is that? And I guess, I mean, if the Legions are struggling, it's really not surprising if they're kicking out law-abiding citizens that want to rent their premises and make use of their food service. Folks, just when you thought this pandemic couldn't get any crazier than it already is, we hear this story. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. If you're able to, make a donation so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.